Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I hope that you are enjoying the event. I am Shireen Karimi, the Director of Digital Communications at the nonprofit called Green America. I am also a health coach and an herbalist. Today, I am here to talk to you about how the health of our environment and the products that we use every single day can affect our own health. First, I would like to tell you a little bit about the nonprofit Green America. We started in the year 1982, and our mission is to harness the economic power of us as individuals, businesses, investors, and the marketplace to create a socially just and environmentally sustainable world. These entities are so important. Together, we come together to create a green economy. And to us, green and a green economy means sustainability for the environment, but it also means social justice for all people. Let's get into the first part of today's topic, how the environmental health can affect our own health. First, one large area of pollution is in the air. Where does this pollution come from? Transportation is a huge one. Cars, trucks, planes, trains, buses, all of that is putting pollution into the air that we breathe every day. Also, power plants, oil refineries, industrial facilities, and factories. Another one that we don't always think about is our industrial agricultural system and factory farms. They are also huge contributors to the pollution in our air. And one that we have especially been hearing about in the last few years is the wildfires. And as you might have already heard, because of the climate crisis and its worsening, there are more and more wildfires happening for longer durations of time because the land becomes drier. And this is also causing an increase in air pollution. Another major factor to air pollution is burning fossil fuels. This is extremely dangerous for humans. Some of the issues that it can cause is that it can exacerbate asthma, can cause heart attacks, respiratory disorders, stroke, autism, Alzheimer's disease, and even early death. According to the World Health Organization, 4.2 million premature deaths happen every year around the world because of air pollution. That is a staggering number. That is more general, but also the communities that are around facilities and around extraction for fossil fuels suffer immensely. One example that I will talk about today is mountaintop removal. This is when you blast apart mountains, essentially, to get into the fossil fuels that exist. What does this do? It contaminates the air. It contaminates the water. It contaminates the land. These people are bombarded with this pollution, and they suffer from birth defects, cardiovascular disease, lung cancer, pulmonary disease. So as you can see, fossil fuels are extremely dangerous for our health, as well as the health of the planet. Another major source of pollution that we continue to combat every day is our drinking water. Where does the pollution to our water come from? The major contributor, one of the major contributors, is agriculture. Again, our agricultural system today is not clean. It is extremely polluting to our waterways. The second largest polluter to water worldwide is actually textile dyeing. The burning of fossil fuels, which I had just mentioned, industrial waste, as you probably imagined, runoff. This is from all of our urban centers, from our homes, from all the toxic herbicides that we use to grow our lawns, to all the runoff in the cities, from our transit systems, from our car emissions, all of that runs into our waterways. And of course, also oil spills, which are actually quite frequent, even though we don't always hear about them. Those are some of the major contributors to the pollution in our water. Well, what are some of the issues that we find in our drinking water? One of the major ones that we find that has now been proven to show that it can cause cancer is glyphosate, which is the main ingredient in Monsanto's Roundup. There are many lawsuits happening right now because it has been linked, Roundup has been linked to cancer in many people. Another thing that we have found in our drinking water are pharmaceutical drugs, antibiotics, and high nitrates from all of the factory farms and the animal feces, phthalates, parabens, and I will talk more about these later, heavy metals, petroleum-based products, and flame retardants, which are persistent and stay in the environment for a very long time. Another area of concern is our food. Our food comes from either plants or animals. In today's society, factory farms and industrial agriculture uses antibiotics regularly in animals in the factory farms because the animals are living in such tight, closed, dangerous, unhealthy quarters. Therefore, it's a breeding ground for bacteria. In order to prevent infection, they are treated with antibiotics regularly. But think about it, we're eating those animals. So anything that they eat or anything that goes into their body goes into their tissues, and therefore we are also eating it. So while they are regularly pumped full of antibiotics and regularly pumped full of hormones, we then are eating those as well. Antibiotics is a huge issue, so much so that it has been declared a worldwide health crisis from the World Health Organization. It is currently responsible for tens of thousands of deaths every year, the overuse of antibiotics, because what has happened is that because we use so many antibiotics, the bacteria is able to become resistant, and the antibiotics that we have no longer work. It is a growing problem, so much so that only in just a few decades, by 2050, which is actually not that far off, antibiotic resistance is expected to cause 10 million deaths every single year. This is a major world health crisis. Also, hormones, which I had just mentioned, is also given to animals regularly to help them grow faster, to plump them up, to help them produce more. So we also, as humans, if we eat their flesh, their products, we also are eating those artificial hormones. They have been linked to early puberty, breast cancer, prostate cancer, and other reproductive system cancers. The other problem with our food today is all of the toxic pesticides and herbicides and petroleum-based fertilizers that are being used in today's industrial agricultural system. I just had mentioned glyphosate, which is the main ingredient in Roundup. There are some others that are also extremely dangerous. Neonicotinoids are actually to blame for our bees and the disappearance of our bees, colony collapse disorder, which you might have heard about. And bees, which are pollinators, are responsible for 1/3 of our food. So if we continue to lose these pollinators, can you imagine having 1/3 less of the options of all of our fruits and vegetables and nuts and options that we have at the grocery store today? A couple other toxic herbicides and pesticides are 2,4-D and dicamba. These toxic pesticides and herbicides have detrimental effects to us as humans because they're being doused onto the food that we are eating and onto the land where our food is being grown. It causes cancer, DNA damage, and endocrine disruption. What is this? Our endocrine system is responsible for our hormones, our reproductive system, and our thyroid. As you can see, this is a lot, and this has huge consequences all throughout our body and can cause very, very many different types of illnesses. Another issue with our food today, which has been quite controversial and we had heard a lot about in the last several years, is genetically engineered food, also called GMOs. This is when you take the genes from one species and insert it into the genes of a completely different species. That in and of itself could be controversial. Regardless of where you fall on that debate, though, one of the problems is that the reason why GMOs were invented partly is because it allows the plants to be doused in these pesticides and herbicides without hurting the plant. Therefore, you know that if you're eating GMOs, you're also going to be eating huge amounts of glyphosate, Roundup, 2,4-D, dicamba. So you are increasing your exposure to these toxic pesticides and herbicides by eating GMOs. Another problem with our agricultural system today and our food is that due to all of the toxic pesticides and herbicides and petroleum-based fertilizers and inputs that we put onto the land that grows our food, not only are we destroying the pests that are eating the crops, but we're also destroying all of the microorganisms that live in the soil. And these microorganisms are what provide the nutrients to the soil. Therefore, we are basically left with dead soil that doesn't have nutrition or nutrients in it to give the plants. Therefore, the plants that we then eat are lacking nutrients. The food that we get today at the store has so much less nutrition in it than it did for our parents, our grandparents, our great-grandparents. So even though you might be eating broccoli, you still are not getting the same amount of vitamins and minerals that our predecessors did. That's why we are also so lacking in nutrients. One other issue with our food is artificial additives. Artificial colors has been proven to cause ADHD in children, and artificial sweeteners are known to cause type 2 diabetes and metabolic issues. Now let's turn to a different topic. What we put on our bodies and what is in our bathrooms and in our homes. Every day we use a number of products. We wash our hands with soap, wash our bodies with soap, put on moisturizers, take care of our hair, put on makeup, put on deodorant, wash our dishes, wash our clothes. All of these products often have certain ingredients in them that are bad for our health. I will go through what some of those ingredients are. First, let's talk about parabens. So parabens are endocrine disruptors, which I had mentioned earlier, are pretty much destructive to our hormones, our reproductive system, our thyroid. Parabens are also dangerous for our immune system and our neurological system, and they have been shown to cause breast cancer. Another one that is pervasive in everything is fragrance. Fragrance, when you think about it in terms of perfume, that is something that you do not need to know what is inside. The ingredients, by law, do not need to be shown because they're considered trade secrets. Therefore, companies can put fragrance only on the ingredient list, and you don't know, nor do they need to disclose, what is in the word fragrance. That would be okay, except that many fragrances contain a chemical in it that is actually very dangerous for us, which are called phthalates. Phthalates are also endocrine disruptors. I just went over what those all mean, disrupting to our hormones, our reproductive system, our thyroid. So this can have disastrous effects, and it can affect people in different ways as well. Another set of chemicals that we need to watch out for are ethanolamines and nitrosamines. These can cause cancer of the liver and of the kidney. Then there are also, even if they're not ingredients in the product, sometimes the products can be contaminated with these ingredients, which are lead, which is a neurotoxin, and mercury, which can damage our kidneys and our nervous system. Another item to watch out for in products is formaldehyde, which is a carcinogen, meaning it causes cancer. And then PFAS. What are these? Well, these are chemicals that are everywhere. They are in our cosmetics, they are in makeup, they are in soaps, but beyond personal care products, they're also in household cleaners, and they are even in fast food containers, food wrappers, nonstick cookware, water and stain-resistant clothing, and all the other stain-resistant carpet and upholstery as well. What can PFAS do to us? Well, they cause cancer, they cause damage to our reproductive system, to our immune system, to our development, and to our livers and kidneys. Another ingredient to look out for is phenoxyethanol, which can cause damage to our nervous system and can cause allergies. Another one I will briefly mention is PEGs and also 1,4-dioxane. These are grouped together because basically PEGs are an ingredient that are in products and they interact with another ingredient and then they cause 1,4-dioxane as a result. So 1,4-dioxane you will not actually see in the ingredient list, but it is a carcinogen, meaning it causes cancer. And the last grouping that I will cover here is sunscreen. So there are two types of sunscreens. There are chemical sunscreens and mineral sunscreens. Chemical sunscreens are any of these ingredients listed here: avobenzone, oxybenzone, octocrylene, homosalate, octisalate, and actinoxate. Those are the chemical sunscreens. The mineral sunscreens that we have are zinc oxide and titanium dioxide. If you think about the image with the lifeguard and the white nose, that is zinc oxide. Mineral sunscreens, zinc oxide and titanium dioxide, are much better for us. What they do, the way that they work, is they actually provide a physical barrier. They sit on the outside of our skin and they prevent the sun's rays from permeating into your skin. Chemical sunscreens are different. They actually interact with the sun's rays to then convert it to be not dangerous to the skin. These chemical sunscreens have also been known to cause damage to tissues and to cells and to our human health. Therefore, mineral sunscreens are actually much safer for us. But there is one caveat here. Because the zinc oxide and titanium dioxide is actually a white film that goes on the outside of your skin, it'll basically turn you white. So a lot of people don't want to walk around with an extra layer of white on their faces or on their bodies. And so there is now a new technology called nanoparticles. And what this does is they shrink down the size of these particles so that instead of sitting on the skin, they actually permeate into the skin. These nanoparticles are so small that they can actually cross through the cell membrane in our bodies. So if you think about it, our cells, right, are these objects, our whole body is made up of cells, but they are their own individual units that are supposed to be protected. When you cause cellular damage, that is where you can have huge consequences to your health. These nanoparticles are able to cross through our cells, into our cells. That means they're getting into our tissues and into our organs where they're not supposed to be. Because this is a new technology, there hasn't been a lot of studies about it, and it is not regulated as of now. But studies that have happened do show that it can cause issues to our GI tract, gastrointestinal. They can cause also issues to our neurological system, our cardiovascular system, and our pulmonary system, our lungs and our respiratory. This is why it's crucial. Wear your sunscreen, but look for mineral sunscreens, and then also look for mineral sunscreens that are not nanoparticles. A lot of times they don't say, so you can always write to the company and ask if they're using nanotechnology or not. You want to look for zinc oxide and titanium dioxide in the ingredient list, and then look for not using nanotechnology. And that is how you can avoid these problems. Now let's talk about the other personal care products. How can we have clean beauty? How can we have products that are healthier for our bodies that we use every day? This is not an exhaustive list. There are many more ingredients to watch out for, but these are the main buckets that'll be easier for you to look for when you are shopping for products. You want to avoid any ingredients that have PEG in them. It'll be a longer word, but the capital letters PEG, look for those, avoid them. Look for any ingredient that has paraben and avoid it. It'll have a prefix in front of it, such as methylparaben, but anything with paraben, you want to stay away from. Also, any ingredients that say polysorbate. There are a variety of different types, so just look for the word polysorbate. Another category to watch out for, DEA or TEA. There's a lot of acronyms here, so you'll have to refer back. Another category, DBP and DEP. As you can see, watch out for the 3-letter acronyms. Those are dangerous. As I mentioned earlier, fragrance or parfum. These are the ingredients that often have phthalates in them. If you have a product that you love and you've tried so many and this works great for you and it says fragrance on it or parfum on it, you do need to be careful. But what you can do is write to the company. Let them know that you love their product, but you are very concerned because fragrance, as you know, can be very dangerous and have dangerous ingredients in it. And you can ask them what is in their fragrance. And in particular, you are looking for phthalates. Another ingredient to look out for is phenoxyethanol. Also, be a sleuth and look for words that end in ETH, so such as sodium lauryl sulfate, and then also look for urea. Again, it won't be just that, but it'll be in with other words. So this is not an exhaustive list, but these are some of the main categories where you can avoid at least most of the dangerous chemicals that are in your everyday products that you are using. I do want to mention one thing about fragrance. It is in everything, and I mean everything. So obviously it's in your perfumes, it's in your soaps, it's in your shampoos, your conditioners, your lotions, your creams, but it's also in your clothing detergent, it's in your dish soap, it's even in garbage bags. It is everywhere. Anywhere that you smell something, that's a fragrance. Obviously, your air fresheners and all that also have it. So you do need to look pretty much everywhere for the fragrance. The other way that you can be sure that you are getting products that are safe for your health and the health of your family instead of, or in addition to, just scouring the long list of ingredients that you will often find, you can also look to businesses that you can trust and know that they use clean ingredients and that they follow sustainable and just business practices. How can you do this? Well, Green America actually certifies businesses. We look at their socially and environmentally sustainable practices, and then we certify them. So you can go to what we call the green pages, which you can find at greenpages.org, where you can find all the businesses that we have certified. There is a section right in the very top called body care products or personal care products. And there are dozens of businesses that you can choose from. So through all of them, you should be able to find the products that you need for you and your family. The other issue is eating clean food. So how can we avoid all of those toxic chemicals that I talked about earlier? You want to look for organic. Organic is going to guarantee that it does not have the dangerous toxic pesticides and herbicides that I had mentioned earlier. The other thing that organic means is that it is not genetically engineered. While being not genetically engineered doesn't mean organic, you cannot have genetically engineered food labeled organic. So if you buy organic, you know you're getting both. So I have here these two labels that you definitely want to look for to ensure the quality of the food. Look for USDA organic, and if you can't find that, and especially for crops that are genetically engineered, then at least look for the non-GMO Project Verified label. Then for our animal products, what you want to do is look for products that come from animals that have been pasture raised, grass-fed, free range, cage-free, having real lives. How can you find these products? A great way to find them is at the farmer's market. Go to the farmer's market and get to know the people who are growing your food. Ask them questions, ask them about their practices. And then you can be much more secure and know where your food is coming from. Another way to take care of your food is through what is called CSAs, which stands for Community Supported Agriculture. These are often subscription-like programs where you find a farm and you sign up to buy their produce for the season. And again, this is a way to support local, sustainable agriculture. And again, get to know the people growing your food. When you are buying animal products at the store, two different labels that you can look for are the Animal Welfare Approved label, which is actually the best. If you can't find that, because it is harder to find, you could look for Certified Humane. I put those labels here so you can also see those on the right. Those are what you want to look for to ensure that the animals have been treated well, have not been pumped full of antibiotics or hormones, and are also better for you. There are so many labels out there and phrases out there that sometimes it sounds like the product is good for you, but it maybe isn't, such as cage-free. There is no certification or regulation about that. It's an example. That means that people can put it on, but there's not really a way to tell if it's real or not. So Green America also has this food labels guide, which you can find at greenamerica.org/food-labels.guide. And there it goes through all the different types of food labels that you will often find, and it rates them on a scale of 5 stars so that you can look for the labels that you can trust and know that it's a legitimate label. What else can we do to make our world healthier for us? Well, one major way that we can take action is through legislation. There's legislation for clean energy, to regulate fossil fuels, to not support additional drilling and exploration for fossil fuels, to regulate pollution, to enact clean air and water laws, And there's also legislation sometimes to support farmers and to support regenerative agriculture, which is a way to grow our food without the toxic herbicides and pesticides, and instead to take care of the soil so that the food that we eat is better for us. How do we support this legislation? Well, federally, you can write to your Congress members. Also, on a state and local level, you can also write to your representatives. Many states and cities are making big progress in these issues, and individuals are a major driver of this change. Because it's on a smaller scale, your voice definitely matters. So speak up, write, and talk to your representatives in your state, local, and federal government. One final and easy way to take action is by signing petitions with organizations. Usually all you have to do is just put in your name and email, maybe where you are, and you can sign these petitions on all kinds of different issues like the ones that I just mentioned. Green America is one of the organizations that you could take action with, but of course you could choose whichever ones you like. To take action with us, just go to greenamerica.org/take action, all one word. And our favorite. Another way to take action is through pushing corporate responsibility. Green America's theory of change is that this is the way that we can actually create an environmentally sustainable and socially just world. And for this, us as individuals are key. Businesses and corporations have huge impacts on industries, and they care about what we think. And if we're their consumers, they are afraid to lose us. This means that we have real power here, and we actually do have influence to change corporations. This is fundamental to Green America's work, and we have been working for many years to shift industries by pushing corporations to take responsibility for their actions and to clean up their business practices. You can take action with us at, again, the same URL, greenamerica.org/take action. We have dozens of petitions there. Only takes a couple of minutes. Sign just even one if you want, and it can help make a difference. One other way that you can continue to create a world that is healthier and safer for us is by talking about these issues with people around you, with colleagues, with your family, with your friends. You might be surprised, maybe some people are already concerned about these issues too, or maybe you'll end up teaching someone something. But it'll bring more of us together so that we really can create more of a healthy and sustainable world for all of us. Together, we are powerful. By signing these petitions, by writing to our legislators, our voices come together and we can create change. Also, our everyday choices that we make, such as choosing clean and sustainably grown food, buying products that do not have these toxic chemicals in them, sends a large signal to these companies that instead what we want are clean and safe and healthy products for us and our family. By making these choices every day and by taking these actions, we can create a world that is safer and healthier for all of us. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope that you did learn something. Again, visit these websites or even just our homepage to peruse, and there you can take action and find more resources to create a healthier and safer world for all of us. Thank you so much.